let's talk about the use of pen tool. Okay, pen tool can be used for different functions. You can use it to trace out images. Basically, the function is to trace out sketches or trace out some images. So uh, pen tool is very useful when it comes to logo design because it helps you uh, create free forms. So one of the major function again for pen tool is that it helps to create free forms. Like we have a regular shape, rectangles, we have squares, we have circles and the rest. But with pen tool, we can create different types of shapes that we want depending on what we want. So today we'll be talking about how to use this particular tool on Illustrator, and it applies for every other versions of every other Adobe products, Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, and the rest. So let's get started. So now in Pen Tool, what immediately you click the icon is that we can see more options to Pen Tool around this corner. We can see add anchor point, which we'll talk about, delete anchor point tool. We'll talk about that. But now we'll be using the major Pen Tool option, which is the shortcuts to that is by just clicking on the P to change to Pen Tool. You can see the shortcuts to most of these tools whenever you hold them down here. You see the shortcut P. The shortcut for this is plus, minus, then shift plus C. We'll be using the pen tool basically. So in pen tool, you can actually create the first anchor point. It's being used by the positioning of anchor point. So what you do is by creating the first anchor point, you see a temporary line, then click on the next anchor point. Then the next anchor point will be connected together. Then click on the next one. It will keep connecting, keep connecting, keep connecting, and keep connecting. That is that about pen tool for straight lines. So in a situation whereby you want to make your lines travel on a straight at 90, so when you create the first point and you're trying to get a very straight perfect line, either horizontal or vertical, you can just hold on the shift key to now we can actually travel here or we can travel there. So that is one. And for this we can travel, for this we can travel, for this we can travel, for this. That is the basic use for pencil. Now let's now go into the curves because these are just straight lines. Let's use pencil to create curves. Let me delete all of this. So if you're using pencil to create curves, that means after creating your first anchor point, then for the next anchor point, you don't click. What you do is you drag, you drag, you drag, you drag, and you keep dragging, you keep dragging, and keep dragging, and keep dragging till you finish the whole thing. So in pen tool, when you create the first anchor point, the second anchor point, by the time you get to the last anchor point, it closes it into a single shape. Then you can move it up. You can move it as a single shape. So let's delete that. Now in pen tool, it might be very difficult to work around the curves. Might be very difficult to work around the curves. There are several options to us using the curve. There's several ways we can make the curve work perfectly well or make it more easy to work with. So in case we're working with curves and all of a sudden we want to go into straight line, what you do is you hit on enter, then you come back, click the point, then you can, as you know, the shift key will make you maintain a straight line. Then you can continue with that. So if you want to continue with curve again, you drag, you drag. Now I can hit enter. By hitting enter, you stop the whole process, and by coming back to the end point that you started from, that you ended, then you can continue either with straight or with another curve. Now here we can decide to come in from this end, and decide to come in from this end, come in, come in, come in, Then you can use Ctrl Z to remove the last drop point or anchor point. So by clicking enter, then we can click back to continue and close it up. So that is that for curves in Point Tool. And also in Pen Tool, you can delete points by coming in, zooming in, you can delete point. So to delete points, if you come here, if we come closer, we'll see the asterisk pen tool for creation change to minus. That means by coming close to an anchor point with that pen that you've created, an anchor point you've created, you can delete a point. And you can also add a point by coming to the part that you've created that has no points. I can create a point around this side. And by creating a point around this side, I can move the point and adjust it to whatever I want. By doing that, you can hold on Control. By holding down on Control key, then you can drag and move to whatever one you want. And you can adjust this by still holding on Control. You can adjust how curvy it looks. You can bring it. This might be a little bit tricky if you're a starter or if you're just starting to use Pen Tool. But with time, if you keep practicing and getting used to it, you'll find your way around Pen Tool. So when I also started, it was a bit tricky for me some years back, but it's always a piece of cake whenever I use it. So just keep practicing on how to use Pen Tool and you'll get your hands around it. So in a situation whereby we have a pen tool, we have this part, we've created a part and you want to readjust the anchor point, you just come to this selection tool, we come to the direct selection tool, then coming to direct selection tool, then you can click and select the point directly, adjust whichever point, adjust the anchor size and all of that. And we can break this anchor point and convert the ones we created to straight line by holding on Alt key. Hold on Alt key. Let me do that for this because this is a bit visible. Let's do that for this. Let's touch now. Let's touch this anchor point. We'll see the control angles. By holding on Control, we can touch the anchor point. So we've touched the anchor point. Then we can adjust this. We are still adjusting it as a curve. So now let's adjust it as a straight line by just clicking on Alt key. Then we'll be able to adjust it at a sharp angle at a straight line. So we've break that point at a curve, and we can still do the same thing to this. So it just depends on how free you want to make your idea comes out. So that is that for Pen Tool. I will try to um, make use of Pen Tool as a tracing machine, as a tracing tool right now. So let's do that before the end of this video. So let's delete this. Now I have a sketch here. I got this Fire Sketch online. So from what page is it to reference that? Okay, I got the Fire Sketch from my modern Met. So I will try to trace this pen tool. I will trace it out as a shape with the use of pen tools. The same method is what you use for logo sketches too. If you have a logo sketch down and you know your basic shape cannot generate what you want easily, so you can just use pen to express yourself. So now to do that, first what I do is I reduce the opacity of the sketch so that I can see my pen functions very well. Then I can see my pen functions travel very well on it. Then I'll come to pen to click. Then I will make sure the fill color here is on transparent. The fill color here is on transparent. By clicking on this, then I'll click on the fill color on transparent. So I'll click this to make the fill color transparent. If you leave it at white, this is what happened. This is what happened if we leave it at white. Let's say it's at white. Let's say it's at white now. Now let's try to create a pen around it. exercise period. So if you try creating pen tool around it, so it's going to have a fill inside. It's going to have a fill inside. Let me bring it to the front. Bring front. So it's going to have a fill inside. Can you see? It's a fill inside. Let's do that again so that we can see. That means if I try to create, we're having the white, it's not transparent on the fill. So we having, if I try to create, so it's going to be a fill, it's going to fill in the shape. So what we need to do is we only need a part, we only need the strokes, we don't need the fill inside. So we need to change this first, select it and change it to none. So that is where we can now start drawing and we'll see what we have inside. Let's delete this and let's start tracing our image out. So to trace our image out, don't mind, I will not trace this to detail. I will just make it very fast for the purpose of the tutorial. I don't want it to be very long. So we come to pen tool, we touch the first point, then we'll drag the second, click and drag the second. Click and drag. You just keep tracing whichever way we want it to be. Okay. Then when we get to this place, you can see that we're finding it a bit difficult. We just press enter to close and we'll come here and click and drag again just to get. Then when we get to that point, we click enter, then we'll click again, then we'll drag this to make it inside. Then we'll press enter, click again to get this other parts. Then this other part. So in case if you want to move this point while dragging, if you're planning to move, if you want to move the point, maybe we place the point wrongly while dragging, we can just click on the space key, then we'll be able to drag the point position while holding it, then we'll be able to put it where we want it exactly, then we'll release, then we can have this way. Okay, enter. Okay, now we just missed our point. We just missed our travel. So if we missed our travel, what we'll do is let's press escape. We can delete this anchor point by just clicking on direct selection to delete the anchor point. Delete. So we can delete the anchor point, then we'll come back here to continue our pen drawing. So we'll come here, click, then we can click and drag again. Click and drag, then you can click on enter, click the point. Okay, then this, then this, enter, then okay, we just made the same mistake. Can you see how funny pen tool? It's thank God I'm making this, we are having this little setback, because when you have this challenge, you know it happens and you can come back, click the selection tool, it's not a problem, you delete it, then you come back and click pen, select the path again, click pen tool, then you select the point, then you click and drag to get, and we can reposition by holding on spacebar. Can reposition this by holding on spacebar. Yes. Then for this, so for this, we're going to do something that I want you to understand again. So let's leave this part here. We can make adjustments to it later. Then we can actually click and drag this to make it look Okay, so let's make adjustments to this and see what will happen. We click on the um direct selection tool, then click on that point, okay, or this, let's click on this, then we'll adjust this particular stroke. You adjust it. So even after drawing, you can make adjustment to what your pen, to what your shapes looks like. We can move this, can move this, can bring this in a bit, can bring it more inside, can leave it, let's leave it, it looks better this way. Then that is there for the sake of the tutorial. That is that for the sake of the tutorial. So we have our pen. Let's drag this out. Let's drag this out. Then we have our shape as don't mind if it's not perfect, you can still make adjustments to it by using the direct selection tool to click and adjust every other part to make it look perfect. So we now have it as a shape, so it will come in having the same properties as the shape. You can fill the inside, you can do anything with it, anything you want with it. So thank you. That is the end. This is going to be the end of the video and the use of pen tool. Keep practicing on pen tool. You don't just get it once. With time, you get used to it, and your hand will be very smart using pen tool. It also applies to Photoshop and any other Adobe product, just the same way you use pen tool on Illustrator. Thank you. See you in my next video.